The next game, the next Jersey Jack game, it's Harry Potter, we know that. I would not spend a dime out of your pocket until you see the game. I wouldn't spend anything, nothing. And if I'm wrong, when you see the game, you let me know. It's going to be spectacular. Of course it's going to be. Jersey Jack said that. It took me 10 years to get the license. Only 10 years. And X millions of dollars. We have all the movies. We have all the assets. I can't wait to see the internet blow up. If you think Wizard of Oz was something, you're going to love the game. So I could really say a lot more, but I'm not going to. Spring started yesterday, so you'll see the game this spring.
Thank you for taking the time to come out today. I've got two amazing gentlemen here that are going to be speaking tonight. The first one, who is on your right-hand side, has his debut pinball creation that was debuted late last year, and I would like for you to put your hands together and welcome Mr. Mark Seiden. Mark designed Avatar, The Battle for Pandora. And then to his right and my left, the gentleman who really took pinball, propelled it into the modern day era back in 2011 with a company called Jersey Jack Pinball. With us today, please put your hands together for Mr. Jersey Jack Guarneri.
Thank you, Ken. I guess I have to talk close on this microphone. That's what the story is. How's everybody? Welcome to Texas. I'm thrilled to be here. It's always a great show. I think it gets bigger and bigger somehow every year, right? Everything's big in Texas. Everything? Okay, I'll have to check that out. So Paul McKinney, I know he's not in the room, but him and his team have done an amazing job. This show has been voted most popular many years in a row, and deservedly so. How many people, I'm curious, how many people are here for the first time? Wow. Look at that, Martin. Get a shot of that. Put your hands up. Turn around, turn around, turn around. That's people that are here for the first time. First time, first time. So really, you're about to be immersed this weekend into what pinball is, probably at its best, with some of the greatest people in the world, some of the nicest people in the world. There are friendships that are forged for lifetimes. I have friends here, Joe Newhart, how long I know you, 25 years? At least, you know. Some people even longer than that, so it's really great. It's a big family. We've been busy at the company. We have 3 games in development right now, and we actually know what the next 3 games are after that. We have licenses secured, and it's really, I can't even contain myself, really. I can't talk about it, but I just talked about it. Anybody here work for Jersey Jack Pinball? Any of our people in the audience? Steve's not here, Bill Grupp's not here. Okay, well that's good. I'm really proud of Mark. Mark came into the company, created a game called Metroid He created a game called Metroid that got on our radar because it was really great. And we brought him into the company. He's got a great temperament. He doesn't get upset. He doesn't get dramatic. He doesn't have a big ego yet. He doesn't get excited. He just does his job. And he makes great games. And I'm very proud of him for the first game he made in Avatar. He made a very ambitious game. I mean, who the hell would let him put 6 flippers on a game? Who would let him make 2, not 1, but 2 lower play fields? okay? He had a budget. His bill of material blew the budget apart. They were hand-dipped, well, you'll see, hand-dipped metal, all the body armor, I don't know, 70, 80 bucks a piece. Really, you gotta be kidding me. Taking it to another level. I don't know what he's gonna do on his next game. I think he's got some rare materials coming from Mars.
Working on it.
Anyway, that's enough for me. I want to introduce you to Mark Seiden.
Hello. So, do we drop them? I figure this, if I take this out, I get a little slack here, and this will be easier on me. So I'm going to walk you through behind the scenes of the creation of Avatar from the beginning to when it shipped. This is a little more than what I showed at Expo, so a lot more detail. So here's the first whitewood, the first cut. There's like nothing on it. There's no inserts. Just we're going to test out the shots at this point. Fun story about that shop bot. It's like that's the same exact type of CNC machine that I used at the Makerspace to make the Metroid game. So I knew exactly how to use it when I came in, which is really helpful. First whitewood, things change. A lot of this is similar, but I can see a lot of differences. Like there's shorter left ramp over there. So originally that was dropping off much closer to the upper left flipper. We have a skinny loop back ramp, which you can sort of see in the back middle. Which turned out it wasn't very fun to have it that way. A lot of people told me so. So I'll show you the evolution of that ramp a little later. I had things like the kid targets were round, they were big. Hadn't quite decided I wanted skinny targets there yet. I had no idea what was going on in the back right corner. I was like, we'll put a ramp here. And that's all that was there, just a ramp to nowhere. No lower playfields yet, but those shapes actually stuck around to the end. I don't think I changed them at all. I was using translucent flippers. I had an idea of like, I'm going to light them up from the bottom. It turns out those flippers break a lot. So I went through all of them we had in the lab. So they broke pretty quickly. That was dropped pretty soon. So yeah, this is the cabinet I was using for it. It was a damaged Wonka CE cabinet that fell off a truck. If that was your game, sorry about it. But we put the cabinet to good use.
It literally fell off a truck.
It literally fell off a truck.
It wasn't from Brooklyn, though, right? Okay.
So what we do is we shoot that game, the Whitewood, and we try to figure out what do we like, what do we not like. And then we change everything in the CAD file. So we start building up like new designs and stuff, and then we start building up these parts, and eventually we have Whitewood 2. During this time, we're also doing experiments on different mechs and things, like the Infinity Lock. I just had an insert in a piece of wood, and I had some lights taped to the bottom, and I had an Arduino driving them to like see what they would look like, and it looked pretty cool. So we moved forward with that lighting effect on the under playfield lock. We were experimenting with different ball sizes for the lower playfield, and that's actually the one we decided on, which is a 3/4 inch ball, a bit heavier than like the Stewie Pinball mini ball that's been used before. I felt that was like it had the right feel to it, the right weight, and it felt like a light ball, but it didn't feel like a toy almost. And at the same time, we're coming up with new ideas like UV reactive rubber rings, silicone rings actually. So that was our first sample under black light of it glowing, and they glow pretty brightly. So then it's time for Whitewood 2. So we're building everything up, and this is the cut. That's actually the bottom side, and then adding all the flat rails and whatnot. I'm still using those translucent flippers because I haven't broken them all yet, but I'll do that eventually. Keeps building up, building up, building up. There's still has the left side of still playing around with the shorter ramp, but we're using like a 3D printed return to the flipper instead of a wire form because it's just quicker to iterate on that. But in the end, decided that wasn't the way to go. It needed to be longer. We need to drop the ball further back and give the player time to actually see the ball hit the flipper. Let's see. This one has inserts now. Mostly the same as we shipped with. There are a few differences here and there. Some different shapes, some movement and stuff like that. This one actually has clear coat, so it plays more like a real game, and you can kind of figure out stuff like that. Over the right, we had the Tulkun sculpt, which was something we were thinking of putting in there. The Tulkun is the whale creatures from Pandora. We thought that like maybe that would be a good sculpt there. It's massive. It looked really cool, but it was really fragile. I didn't think it would hold up in a pinball environment. That model actually came from Lightstorm. That is the movie quality model with all however many billions of polygons are on it. We had to reduce the detail on it just to print it and even load it in our software. You can see over on the left, I was like using an up kicker from Godfather until I got the, and see on the right is closer to the final up kicker rail and stuff like that. And still didn't know what was going on quite on the up there, but I was experimenting with a spinner at the end of the ramp, and I kind of liked that, so that's what we went with. Here's a little closer look at the whale sculpt that we were thinking using. It probably would have been posed differently if we had moved forward with it. But yeah, Lightstorm provided us with pretty much whatever 3D models from the movies we wanted. They were amazing. Great partners in this. You can, yeah. So, and then you can also see the beginnings of the lower playfields. This one is close to the final version. We did change it up a little bit. That right target, the right orbit on this was too tight, so we opened it up. The right target ended up being a smaller target and a much wider right orbit around there, and it became way easier to hit that. Left orbit was always fairly good, but I think I did make some changes to that also. Yeah, and here's the later version where we've changed out the right target. It's the black target, not the blue target. We've decided to put the crab suit down there. That's what you're battling, and just building up plastics and getting ideas of how we could cover that in art and how we could theme it. So. Sometimes things aren't very good, and you have to go through a few iterations of them. The loopback ramp took 10 tries, and those are the 10 tries. The one on the right is the final version that shipped with the game. You can see that they started off skinnier and got bigger and bigger, and this is because you could kind of hit it from the lower left, the regular left flipper, but it would just like kind of go up and go down, and it wasn't fun. So like about 5 people told me it wasn't fun. So I spent a lot of time going through and trying to get it so you could hit it also from the lower left flipper. There were many ideas we went through. One of which was like,
Go back to that slide. Go back to that slide.
oh yeah, go back to, yeah.
So it says, attention, Charles Thomas, up there, but it's not you.
Oh.
We have somebody that works for us that's
Yeah.
named Charles Thomas. He's not as prolific as you are, and
It's-
he doesn't travel as much.
It's not an Easter egg, sorry. It is
But
now.
now it'll be
you
an
could have
Easter
you could have
egg
let
because-
you could have said it was an Easter egg.
He took pictures of it. He took pictures. So good for you, Charles. There's also a Martinet of the, no.
No. There might be some other Easter eggs in that. I don't think. I think I cut everything out that was supposed to be there. Yeah, this was one of the middle ideas. There's like some ramps that like sort of give a little bend out to help guide the ball in. This made it worse for some reason, and I finally figured out the further I bend it out that angle, the more the ball is hitting it at like a 90-degree angle. So when I realized that, I was like, all right, what am I going to do? I need to change this up somehow. You can also see me just bending up the rail, because it used to just be a single wide wire form. So I just opened it up, because I just need to make sure it could get up the ramp. And this is the one that actually worked. Just parallel entrance walls for the ramp. It's sort of at an angle because I wanted to keep the angle that it exited at. But as soon as I did this, after realizing that the thing I was doing before was not the way to go, you could hit it from 3 flippers all of a sudden. I'm not sure how you can hit it from the right flipper, but you can hit this ramp from the right flipper. You gotta sneak it by the targets and it goes right up. It's tight, but it works. So I was like, yes, this is awesome, although this is still pretty rough here. Yeah, then just clean it up, make a new wire form, and yeah, now it's great. That's pretty much what we shipped, the design we shipped with. And you go through a lot of mistakes and iterations, and this isn't even all of it. This was, I just...
And somebody actually pays for that stuff.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's all, it's all in a day's work.
Yep. So, yeah, everything goes through revisions, and this isn't quite right. Got to make it better, got to make it good. Yeah, and then you get a pile of scrap. Oops, too many forward. So yeah, then we start lighting it up. This is when coding started. We got light boards, the rainbow pattern. The rainbow pattern actually didn't ship with the game. We don't have that one. This one. It's like this and The Hobbit. I think the only 2 that don't do the rainbow. It didn't really feel Pandora, so we didn't do it.
Godfather has a rainbow.
Even Godfather's rainbow. Yeah.
I understand that.
Yeah, that didn't really fit for that theme. Yeah. So I didn't think that fit, so I didn't do it. Let's see. What are my notes on this? What are they? So at this point, we've replaced the Tulkun with the Elu, which is like a dolphin, dinosaur-like creature that they swim in the ocean. That's over on the right. We've figured out that the longer RDA ramp works better. You can kind of see on the right-hand one, there's sort of an orange blocky thing where the amp suit was. We called that the cheese man. He was just sort of looked like a block of cheese, but he did behave exactly like the amp suit at the end. He had a very sharp knife on him made of metal, which he didn't want to get in front of when he fires. We were also, and you can see on the right-hand side, we were testing out some powder coating options. Obviously, that did not make it to the final product. I'll show you some pictures of that later. We got some early flying mountains in there, floating mountains in there. Yeah. And then a couple more iterations of the whitewood. The blue one is cool. That was actually concept art. We had it printed, and that was our first test for the UV inks. It had just something, we threw together a pattern on it to see if we could make a play field with UV inks on it. But that's a very early version of the artwork. There's the general layout and figuring out how things go. I think I might have a picture of that sometime later, a close up. And then the one on the right is our first real artwork print build up. Still no plastics, but and there's a bunch of changes on this. You can see the arrows is a single arrow, like going across the lights. The lights aren't covered up in a lot of places. Like the general layout and what's on there is the same, but there were some details changed later. This other thing we were experimenting with was powder-coated ramps. These ones are actually UV reactive, which we were testing without a clear coat on, and they just peeled away really quickly. So obviously we couldn't go with that. So we added a clear coat to it, and then the UV didn't work anymore on it. So and I kind of thought that the chrome looked better. So we actually didn't ultimately go with this. But we did try adding more UV reactive stuff to the game at different points. Obviously, if it doesn't work, can't ship it. Topper. Topper changed a little bit. So originally it was going to be the planet that's behind it was going to be the planet that Pandora orbits around. And it basically looks like Jupiter, except it's blue. So we called it Bloopiter. So we were labeling it Bloopiter and stuff like that. And we're trying to figure out, like, all right, we're gonna have this over here. What is it gonna look like? We knew we wanted to do a Pepper's Ghost effect, to do like the holographic displays that the RDA uses in the movies. And here's Eric being very happy to help me test the mirror on the, see how it works.
Don't look happy.
I was being sarcastic. So this was our first test. That's actually like teleprompter glass that we use on that. And you can see it's pretty clear even in the bright light that we have in there. And then here's an early mock-up of the art. And this is when we figured that we needed a cover on it, because look at all those fingerprints and the dirt and stuff like that. And we were also experimenting with Pandora being a globe in front of it. It didn't really fit in there, and it would like scrape up against the glass, it would scrape up against the back panel, and it didn't quite look right to shrink it. And then we were thinking about it, and it's like, you know what, the real star of the movie is Pandora itself. Why are we doing this gas giant thing? So we ended up changing directions and changing the gas giant to Pandora itself. But when we were experimenting with this, it turns out that even Lightstorm does not know what the other side of Pandora looks like. So we had to create a texture that included also the back side of Pandora, which was basically a mirror of the front side of the Pandora, because they didn't want us really making stuff up. So that was, that's an interesting fact, is they only know what half the planet looks like. And here's some experiments with the first time with the actual programming. It looks pretty cool. And all those like details, those UI details, those came right from Lightstorm. Those are actually, a lot of those are movie assets that you saw in the movie. They gave us gigabytes of this stuff. So it was, pretty much anything we asked for, they gave us. It was great. We had access to. Here's an early version of the CE shooter rod, 3D print. Testing it out, seeing how it feels. I don't really like custom shooter rods, so it needs to feel like you're actually using a regular shooter rod, and I felt that it was perfect. And there's an early test paint of it, going through approvals. I think it's pretty close to what we shipped with. Yeah, there's an early version of the floating mountains. This is another asset that we got directly from Lightstorm. Just 3D print it and seeing how it looked in the game. And we were trying to hide the wires and stuff, so it looked like the back mountain was actually floating. I think we did a decent job of it. You obviously can't hide everything, but from most players' perspective, I think it worked pretty well. Here's another early paint job. Oops, went too far. Another early paint job and test. A few things that we changed up. The waterfall doesn't fall from the top because in the movies they don't actually fall from the tops. They come out from the sides. There was no vegetation on the bottom, so we added some vegetation to the bottom. Things like that. The color of the rock changed a little bit. So there's little less forest on the top and we added a texture to the top that made it look a little more like the tops of trees. But this is another example of like trying to hide that wire, so it looks like the back one's really floating. So here's an early 3D print of the amp suit, another movie asset. If you zoomed into this, you could see every bolt, every little detail on the actual mech suit. At this point, we had it so we could move the arm, and it was animated. Obviously not painted, but here's an early paint job with not much detail on it, but it was a good first test of what it would look like. Another fun Easter egg, the amp suits all have numbers on their shoulders and various places on them. This one is number 10 because this is Jersey Jack's 10th game. Another thing we did, attention to detail, is the flipper buttons are actually not the standard yellow. We picked a color that matched better with the artwork on both sides of the cabinet. It's more of an amber color, and it came out pretty good. I think it was a good choice. Some early ramp molds, subways technically. These are subways. I learned all about how they make vacuum forms. One of the early molds they use is made out of wood. As you're programming, you have placeholder graphics. I like this guy. He was the original crab in the lower left corner, little googly eye. I miss him. I wish we could bring him back. Behind the scenes of the video shoot, we had this giant video wall to do it. It was quite the production. It was an awesome experience. I didn't even have time to take more than like this picture. So that's Grant Henry, audio engineer for the game, being interviewed for his spot in the introduction video. And then I had to sign a lot of cards. So did Jack. So that was nice pile. That was in all of them. That's like 100 of them. finally we get to production. Cabinet line on the left.
Mark, let me break in here and ask you something. So you worked on this game, like, let's say, what, a year and a half? And then we ordered all the parts. Parts came in, the assembly line got populated,
Yep.
and that happened up there. How did you feel about that?
Relieved. I was looking forward to this point for so long. It was just so happy, and seeing them coming down the line, it's like, yeah, it was relief and excitement, I would say. Finally it's here, and finally I get to share this with everybody, instead of just the few people behind these walls. Yeah, I don't know how to describe the feeling. So we're building up LEs here, a cabinet line, playfield line, sub-assemblies. So that whole ramp comes with the sculpt on it, some switches on it, spotlights on it already. So they make it at the station and they just drop it on the cabinet line, on the playfield line. And then here's one that's near the end. We don't add the playfield windows till near the end of. At this point, we weren't adding them till near the end. Now we're adding them earlier on and just leaving the protective plastic on. We were worried about scratching, but those playfield windows have an anti-abrasive coating on it, and they don't really scratch. We haven't really seen much scratching on them, even after thousands of plays. And then on the right is the first game in a box. And that was a good feeling to see that. Yeah, that felt great. So we got games in boxes now. What are we gonna do? We're gonna invite the media in. So we had a bunch of podcasters, influencers, YouTubers, name it, come in. And we showed them the factory. We let them play the game. And it was fun. Afterwards, we took them over to Antarium. There's them playing the games. We fed them lunch. Afterwards, we brought one over to Antarium, and that was the first game on location. There it is. I took it not that night, like the next day or something. Whenever I tried to take a picture, somebody was playing it. So I don't know who this is. Maybe you're here. And then, we started playing it in tournaments. And this guy was pretty good at pinball, and he played it. That's the very quick version of more like 2 years.
All right, if you guys have any questions for these guys, just come right up to the front there. There's a microphone right in the center if you have any questions that you'd like to ask them. Otherwise, keep telling us the secrets.
Mm-hmm.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm curious, when you make a game like this, how soon do you start the idea of your toppers and stuff? How far along do you get into creating the idea of the actual game first?
On my next one, I'm already thinking about it because I thought I started too late on Avatar. The topper actually went through some other iterations before what I've shown you. It's some stuff that I might use in the future. Why I didn't include it in there? You start thinking about it right away, but I didn't start building it till around Whitewood 2, and I think it's probably better to have an idea of the integration of the topper much earlier on and stuff like that. So I'm already thinking about it for the next one.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Hey there, happy CE owner. Anyways, I was just kind of curious, any major updates coming to the software code base at this point now that you're at 1.0? And then any updates on like online connectivity and that type of thing?
We are coming out with, I think, another code update soon, which is mostly bug fixes and a few other things. I don't know. You never know. We'll see where it goes. I can't make any promises. There are some things I want. I personally think could be improved, but yeah, we'll see.
So I'm curious as to how you determine the number of balls you want in your machine. Did you play with different amounts? Did you try it different ways and then finally come up to the conclusion of what the perfect number was?
No, actually the trough holds 6, so I put 6 in. That's really the answer. And technically there's 7 in there because there's the mini ball too. Oh, that reminds me. Yeah, it's a 6 flipper game. There's a reason it's a 6 flipper game because animals on Pandora have 6 limbs. So I wanted to make sure that it felt like a creature of Pandora. So that's why how many flippers were chosen for the game. But yeah, balls. Yeah, it was just the trough holds 6. Let's load it up.
With Donald Trump doing all these tariffs, all over the country, Europe, Canada, everywhere, what's that going to do to the price of pinball and your suppliers?
Is that a question for me,
You can answer the question, Jack.
Donnie?
Yeah.
Well, look, we don't know. I mean, I don't think anybody knows. And personally, I think some of those tariffs are never going to happen because they'll figure out what to do before they put them on there. So I have a habit of doing this. I don't worry about things that aren't going to happen. It's beyond my control. So, we'll charge more money or we'll figure it out or whatever. The company's had obstacles for all 14 years since I started it. And we've gone through tariffs before. It was interesting. The last week or two, I could have probably collected like $2 million from people like Stefan and all the other distributors around the world that want to give us money for orders. But it's not when you give me the order. It's when the game crosses the border that it matters. So who knows what's going to happen? Don't worry about it. The world, contrary to what you see on the news, the world's not going to end. Probably not in our lifetime anyway. Any other questions? Joe, you don't have a question? Stefan, you don't have a question? You texted me the other day, it was 4 pages.
Here we go. We got a brave soul coming up.
Hello.
Hello.
So, when you make the game, like say it goes on location, like what's a common problem? Like you guys have heard, like if a ball gets stuck in the mini play field, like what's the most common, I guess, problem you've had with this game on location? If I were to put one in.
We try to fix them as soon as we, like within the first, like that Intarium game that we put out there, within a week we had a fix kit for like ball hang-ups and stuff like that. There was, we put a shield on the amp suit to try to protect him from damage. Common problems where we try to resolve them as soon as we see them. I know there's sometimes the ball sits on the pop bumper and we have a code fix for that. That's one of our bug fixes coming up. It pops it a little more often if it gets in that state. But yeah, if it's a physical problem, we try to find a solution. If we find a physical problem, we make modifications mid-run on the line. Like we try to change stuff out. Specifically location-wise, I'm not really aware of any really common problems, though. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Question from the chat. So the question on the chat is from Kirk Hobbs. He's curious, when is the next Jersey Jack pinball machine, the next title, going to be announced?
Who's that?
Bum, 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 bum.
Who's that?
Kirk Hobbs on the chat, watching us live.
Where's he from?
Does not say.
The next game, the next Jersey Jack game, it's Harry Potter, we know that. I would not spend a dime out of your pocket until you see the game. I wouldn't spend anything, nothing. And if I'm wrong, when you see the game, you let me know. It's going to be spectacular. Of course it's going to be. Jersey Jack said that. But it took me 10 years to get the license. Only 10 years. And X millions of dollars. We have all the movies. We have all the assets. I can't wait to see the internet blow up. If you think Wizard of Oz was something, you're going to love the game. So I could really say a lot more, but I'm not going to. It's coming. Spring started yesterday, so you'll see the game this spring. Stefan, today's your birthday.
Gonna follow that?
Yes.
Let's all sing Stefan happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Stefan. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you very much.
Stefan is one of the hardest working people in pinball. He's in the top 10 in my book in the whole world promoting games. He's running around at 2 in the morning. He's running around 12 in the afternoon. My phone rings at the old crazy hours of the day and night. He's based in Austria, but you wouldn't know that. He's working on taking over the world. So I appreciate everything you do for Jersey Jack Pinball and pinball in general. Thank you.
Thank you. So I would have right now originally one question, but now I have two questions because you confirmed Harry Potter. Will it be at the European Pinball Championship? End of May.
When is that?
End of May, so 31st of May.
We'll
1st of
see.
June.
We'll see you offline. We'll discuss this. We'll discuss this in a smaller group.
Perfect. The other question what I wanted to ask, the trim for the Avatar CE with this special foil on it, whose idea was it and which challenges you went through to do it? Because I really find it very awesome. It's cool what you did there.
Ken has a video of the process, but I don't have it, and yeah, I don't know if we can put it up there right now. It was an idea that was floating around for a while, and it was I don't know who actually had the idea, but I was looking into it, and somebody came up with the idea.
Somebody decided we weren't spending enough money.
Yeah.
You can make
We had to
something
make
that
it look
looks really
really cool.
beautiful.
This looks cool, but let's make it look really cool. It actually that was a challenge. The first iteration on that, you could just peel it off with your fingernail. It did not work. And we had to go to different vendors. Finally, we found a vendor that could do a good job. They could clear coat. It's durable. They can do good coverage. There's so many factors involved. Yeah, I can't really. Yeah, I don't know if we can broadcast that.
We don't have a camera.
Yeah, we
If
don't have a
anybody
camera.
wants to see the video of how it's done,
Yeah,
it's
we'll
up here.
show it to you. We'll probably post it on social media soon.
Probably, yeah, that's true.
It's this process, if you're not familiar with it, it's called hydro dipping. You print like a tiled pattern on this film, and you float it on water, and then you spray it with an activator, and then you like dip the part on it, and it like transfers to the surface, and then you have to like spray something else on it to like lock it into place. and it's just like every part is unique because you cannot like, it's all hand dipped. It's always in a different spot, different part of the pattern. So no two games look the same. And I'm really glad we did it. It looks good. It looks amazing. But it was expensive and difficult.
What else is new?
Yeah. Turns out pinball's hard. Who knew?
Butch, you got a question? Butch Peel. Woo. I'm good. You could call me sometime. I'm only teasing. I called you last, you filthy animal. It's all right. I love you. It's all right. Anybody else have any questions? Charlie? Well, come up to the microphone.
So when you get an IP and you start developing it, what happens when you get to a roadblock with the IP holder? Is it back to square one, or you start negotiating, or you start wiggling around, or how does that work?
My job is to make the best game that represents the IP holder's property. So if they say this isn't right, it's not right. You throw it away and start over, or you modify it to be more right, and try to, if you can salvage it somehow, yeah, you try. But if it comes down to it, they know best. And who am I to tell who am I to tell James Cameron that I know better than him about Avatar?
There have been times where we used, let's say we created a character and we used it on something, and it was rejected. And the comment is, the character's cheeks are too rosy. And our answer is, it's from your style guide. So we didn't create the character. So sometimes within the company, there are different people that have different opinions about the way something should look. So you're really not dealing most of the time with one person. You're dealing with a committee sometimes, and not the same people looking at it. So it's a challenge. That's probably a seminar on licensing that I'll never give. Martin, you have any questions?
How about we give away an autographed Avatar pinball banner tonight? We actually have two of these. And I'm going to ask a question, and if you guys want to think of a question, we'll give two of these banners away.
Okay.
If that works. First question is, on the limited and collector editions of Avatar: Battle for Pandora, we have the Banshee sculpt that's on both of those games. How many versions of that sculpt are offered on each version? Does anybody know the answer to that?
Is it 6?
The correct answer is 6. So you'll grab a banner. Thank you. Does anybody know who is the manufacturer, the creator of that sculpt?
McFarlane.
McFarlane Toys is correct. So we've got 2. So will you guys come onto the Jersey Jack Pinball booth? At the conclusion of here, we'll get those banners out to you guys. Thanks.
Cool. Martin, you didn't get off the hook.
Yeah, I was just going to ask about the subtitle, really, The Battle for Pandora,
Yep.
because the original movie didn't have that title,
Nope.
and the second one was The Way of Water. So what is The Battle for Pandora? That was a concept that was just developed for the game.
Yeah. So this this game has both movies in it. Calling it The Way of Water wasn't the right thing to do. And I also want to differentiate it from the first Avatar game somehow. Do not just call it Avatar again. And things that start with the battle sound pretty cool. This was actually a title that we worked with Lightstorm to come up with. yeah, and I think it represents what we're doing in the game. It's all about going on battles and modes that are fighting and stuff like that. So I like the title.
I have one final question from the chat, and here it is. It is from SS Billiards. They are asking, will Steve Ritchie ever get to do Top Gun? I don't think that was an answer.
Well, never say never. I mean, who thought, how many years did everybody hear that there would never be a Harry Potter game? How many years did you hear that? You heard that from ever. You heard that from all kinds of industry people, people that have done licensing, experts, geniuses, people that have accomplished a lot. There's one thing that it takes to be successful. You can't give up. I could have given up on this company thousands of times, right? But if you don't give up, you don't lose. So there's difficulty with that license. Maybe I'll overcome it, maybe I won't. It's on the radar, so possibly.
Ladies and gentlemen, give him a round of applause.
Thank you, everybody. God bless all of you, and have fun playing pinball. Chidi, listen, I just want to say one last thing. In today's world, there's a lot of screwed up things. It's not a political statement. A lot of hatred. Try to love each other. We have something in common with pinball. It's a good place to start. Be positive ambassadors for pinball. If you're on some social media and somebody's giving you bullshit, just delete the person. Don't even answer them. Life's too short, okay? We got new people coming into the hobby. You saw how many hands went up? They don't have to walk into a barroom fight and get punched from both sides. Okay, this is a lot of fun. September 5th this year, I'm doing this 50 years, and I'm only 60 years old. Shut up. I didn't work one day in my life doing what I love. So if pinball is something to anchor everybody together and send a positive message to the rest of the world, that's your job, your happy job. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.